Listen, continuing the healing of the dream. Power cannot oppose, for opposition would weaken it, and weakened power is a contradiction in ideas. Weak strength is meaningless, and power used to weaken is employed to do what? To limit the power. And therefore, it must be limited and weak, because that is its purpose. Power is unopposed to be itself, to be whole. No weakness can intrude on it without changing it into something it's not. Why? To weaken is to limit and impose an opposite that contradicts the concept that it attacks. And by this does it join to the idea a something that it is not and make it unintelligible. Who can understand a double concept such as weakened power or a hateful love? I'd like an answer to that. Look with me. You have decided that your brother is a symbol for a hateful love, a weakened power, and above all, you listening, a living death. And so he has no meaning to you at all, for he stands for what is totally meaningless. He represents a double thought, a double thought, a double thought, where half is canceled out by the remaining half. Yet even this is quickly contradicted by the half it canceled out, and so both are gone and mean nothing. Look, and now he stands for nothing at all. Symbols, which but represent ideas that cannot be, must stand for empty space and nothingness. Yet nothingness and empty space cannot be a form of interference. What can interfere with the awareness of reality is the belief that there is something there. The picture of your brother that you see means nothing, means nothing, means nothing. There is nothing to attack or to deny, nothing to love or to hate or to endow with power or to see as weak. The picture has been wholly canceled out because it symbolized a contradiction that canceled out the thought that it represented. And thus the picture has no cause at all. Who can perceive effects without a cause? What can the causeless be but the nothingness that it is? The picture of your brother that you see is wholly absent and has never been. Let then the empty space it occupies be recognized as vacant, and the time devoted to it, seeing, be perceived as idly spent, and a time actually unoccupied. Listen, an empty space that is not seen as filled, an unused interval of time not seen as spent and fully occupied, becomes a silent invitation to the truth to enter and to make itself at home. No preparation can be made that would enhance the invitation's real appeal, for what you leave as vacant, God will fill. And where he is, there must be truth abiding. Unweakened power with no opposition is what creation is. For this, there are no symbols. Nothing points beyond the truth, for what can stand for more than everything? Yet truth undoing must be kind. And so the first replacement for your picture is another picture of another kind. And we're back with you at last in a brand new continuum of time wherein we expect on a previous determination that you made with us through the practice of the mind training of this Course in Miracles to teach you on a continuing basis to leave moments of decision that you have been determined to make in order to retain reflections of your light projected into your future identity and coming back to you as ideas about association of your time that are already over and gone. You are able to see in the moment of the prayer, of the meditation of your mind, in a request that you use the power of your mind in a moment's interval of the truth of who you cannot not be, that bright reflection of light is coming to you in a decision that you successfully practice in a moment of not deciding, the conceptual self, wherein you previously within your own dream sequence have been living out ideas of the possibility of the entirety of the hallucination of your mind. Look with me, in which figures have been appearing with you and all of the body formulation of yourself that you have been using to demonstrate reflected light that have bound you to this little containment of body form. The idea that your mind, with all of the power of the universe, was trapped in a sequence of time where you thought you had to occupy this body formulation in the dream sequence, wherein what? You recognized within your dream other dreamers out there, look with me, my dear one, sharing ideas within their own consciousness idea, the necessity of formulating within space-time the totality of the idea that it would be possible in all of the universe for you to be other than what everything is in the totality of power of mind that you share with creative source. All of your justification in the re-examination that you have allowed to occur now within your own sequence will be increasing evidence to you that the power of decision that you are utilizing does not come from the little futility of the idea of the space-time reference that you thought you had to occupy within the sequence of your body in order to justify the illusionary nature of a momentary correspondence of body form. Look with me. Once you begin to admit that you're within an illusion, the power of the practicality of the necessity for you to keep on making decisions about your body in which you believe that I am going to share with you. I'm speaking now of my own illumination in the momentary collapse of myself and the continuing extension of myself in what with Jesus we term a new beginning, a new awakening, a new being born again, a new formulation of my body within the illusionate possibility that I could see you as anything except a perfectly loving representation of the awakening from the dream that we now intend to share with each other. And awakening from the dream that all of the pain and all of the death and all of the loneliness that we had been using to demonstrate our idea of multiplicity of variation without the fundamental admission of a single source of reality that cannot not be what we are, abet a moment of decision in space and time that increases to a frequency of power that eliminates the necessity for us to continue to manifest reflections of light that are always going to disappear into the maze of the nothingness by which we continue to believe within the illusion of ourself that we can suffer the consequences within this dream sequence of the idea that we can die, that there's such a thing within your formulation as a body, that you can get old and sick in the representation of yourself. Look with me. It's impossible that I am appearing with you in this formulation of a new vision of reflections of sequences of dream ideas, that when you look out into this world, you see what's going on here, a body formulation of sickness and pain increasing in its intensity to demonstrate to your weak, frail idea of self-identity that it's not possible for you to exercise a continuing power of assertion, not independent on yourself in your old ideas, but in the simple realization that I couldn't possibly be present with you in the power of your mind within the dream sequence, wherein you continue to attempt to justify the ideas of our body formulation, that we are not fundamentally, now I'm speaking directly to you, aware of the entirety, listening, that at your instruction, this is from my Savior Jesus Christ, his reappearance here within the resurrecting body are going to demonstrate to you the entirety of the possibility of a refactoring within the illusion, where you take on whole new ideas of the joy and the love that we're sharing together within the possibility of crucifixion and loneliness and death that has been converted in that instant to a joyful recognition of the love we're going to share. And our fear is gone. We're not afraid. I'm not afraid. Don't be afraid. I'm not afraid. Don't be afraid. Good. It's changing all the time anyway. Your assignment is to let it change. The entirety of your assignment is to find a distance between the past and the future, where the entirety of the power of light that you are representing can emerge. This world will be gone, and the dream will be over. So this is the finality of a dream sequence in which we have returned momentarily into a long, slow time identity of yourself, are increasing frequencies of power of light through an indecision on your part to retain the idea of the space-time in which you're located, and immediately you feel that surge of power that you were previously very fearful to let come into your light, because it would be apparently the loss of your need to continue to suffer within the consequences of the body formulation that you hold into your entrapment of the possibility that this could be what life is, rather than a moment of dream from which you will now awaken and disappear into the entirety of the universe. Will you listen with me about this dream, and about you and I together in the dream, and about your appearance to share a new idea that we can dream ourselves out of here by using ideas that are in our own mind that we've been afraid to use, very simply because they seemed impossible to us, very simply because the concept of ourself that we were determined to hold on to has reduced the power so evidently in a new idea that's possible for us that at this moment perhaps you're even refusing to acknowledge the possibility that in the mind training of the Course, a miracle of a dimension that immediately illuminates the necessity for any location in space-time and will allow you within the power of your mind to appear anywhere out in the universe by the simple acknowledgement that the power of the universe is inherent within your own perceptual conflict, by which you have maintained a limitation of ideas about yourself that are totally meaningless within the truth of the dream sequence. Thank you for the increase in that power of recognition. Thank you for that appearance. Thank you for coming back into this sequence. Is that you there? Notice when you increase the frequency of the idea of a newfound correspondence of ourself, we could describe it in any manner in which we wanted to present the dimensional idea of the possibility of the reflection of light within our idea. But you listen to me. The final source of the entirety must be the admission of a universal power of light if it's going to be represented as a possibility of darkness. You see that? In other words, the idea that it's possible not to be located in space-time is the simple admission of the entirety of that moment of darkness that then expanded out into the universe. And we have a new illusion of our body formulation that's giving us such a bright reflection of this new dream sequence that we immediately want to go out into the world and say, look what I've discovered. He looks at you and say, I wonder what he's talking about. I'm talking about a new discovery in our mind. Will you forgive me for wanting to share my new discovery with you? Will you forgive me for acknowledging that all the loneliness and pain and death that I thought was necessary within my own idea of myself was emanating only from myself and not out in the reflections of light that I previously used in order to maintain a death sequence, another death, alive, another death, alive, over and over again and again. We have been repeating death sequences until at last the conversion in the increase in the frequency of light no longer give us more than momentary ideas of death, so we don't have to live out long sequence of what is totally meaningless within the universal dream of death that we previously used to maintain the notation that what we were dreaming had any reality out in the universe. Listen with me, new bright ideas now with the picturing that we have found about our new identity and escaping from space-time. Listen. As nothingness cannot be pictured, so there is no symbol for totality. Reality is ultimately known without a form, unpictured and unseen. Forgiveness is not yet a power known as wholly free of limits, and yet it sets no limits you have chosen to impose. Forgiveness is the means by which the truth is represented temporarily. It lets the Holy Spirit make exchange of pictures possible until the time when aids become meaningless and learning is done. No learning aid has use that can extend beyond the goal of learning. Where its aim has been accomplished, it is functionless and will disappear. Yet in the learning interval, it has a use that now you fear, but yet will love. You listen with me, the picture of your brother given you to occupy the space so lately left unoccupied and vacant will not need defense of any kind, for you will give it overwhelming preference simply because it looks better and brighter to you, nor delay an instant in deciding that is the only one that you really want. Look with me. It does not stand for a double concept. Though it is but half the picture and is incomplete within itself, it is the same. The other half of what it represents remains unknown, but it is not canceled out, and this is the progress that we make. And thus is God left free to take the final step himself. And what will ultimately take the place of every learning aid will merely be what it has always been. Look with me. Forgiveness vanishes and symbols fade, and nothing that the eyes have ever seen or ears have heard remain to be perceived. A power wholly limitless has come, not to destroy, but to receive its own. There is no choice of function anymore. The choice you feared to lose, my friend, you never had. Yet only this appears to interfere with power unlimited and single thoughts that are complete and happy without opposition. You do not know the piece of power that opposes nothing, yet no other kind can be at all. Give welcome to the power beyond forgiveness and beyond the world of symbols and of limitations. He would merely be, and so he merely is in all of our universe together. There's a great deal of joy that's in the totality of the reasoning process within your own mind, where when you begin to practice the idea of objective association in your entrapment of space-time, when you see someone that you attempt to defend yourself from, okay, because you've got him pictured as a fearful idea of yourself, and you say to yourself, wait just a moment. Perhaps there's another way that I can look at this. That other way within your concept of yourself was immediately available to you. Here's what happens. It's not a total cancel out of yourself, because that would be the successful recognition of your own resurrection and disappearance. In our Sermon on the Mount, all Jesus really reminds you of is that if you'll forgive your brother just for that moment, now, it may just for that moment also increase the conflict that you feel within yourself. So you listen with me. If you undergo and intend to have an experience of the conversion of the faculty of your mind, the beginning of the necessity to forgive your brother becomes an important part of the feature in which you recognize your own responsibility within your own idea of yourself. Do you see that with me? Here's a reminder for you, reflecting light idea. There's no possibility that you can re-enter into a true frame of you in your identity without a moment of a fundamental admission of the self-responsibility for the power of decision within a dream sequence of you in which you have a totality of idolization of pain and death and loneliness that appear to surround you within this hologram of light that are giving you reflections of attack and defense in which you continue to identify yourself within the illusionary nature of the dream sequence. The new dream that you have found in self-recognition, in a decision of the power that you are now exercising to change your mind about what you want to see, are the simple admission that the change was going on all the time and each moment, and that the power that you were utilizing was finally only a denial of the ultimate power of the universe, of which you cannot not be a full and recognizable part within the dream sequence that you are no longer going to identify. There you are. There you are again. There you are again. Here's what's happening. the illusionary nature that removes the frame idea of the reflection of dark form, I'm going to leave you here now just for a moment, have increased the frequencies in the idea of the necessity to suffer pain and death within your body form, beginning with a simple admission that was all only in your mind. It's the fundamental admission that there is no world out there. That all of the picturing that you have used to demonstrate the idea of the reflection of yourself are being converted, first for a moment of an inability to recognize that the reflection that you thought was out there has now returned back in on yourself. And in that moment, what? You didn't defend yourself from the illusionary nature of what appeared to be another body formulation so that you could share together the idea of the possibility that when I was healed within my own mind of identity, you were not healed along with me, because it's fundamentally the simple admission that there's only one mind within our entirety, and that mind we intend to share together in this new sequence of demonstration of the power of decision to leave open within the identity the certainty of who we are. I'll be with you back in just a moment. Good for you. There's a nanosecond. The power of decision is ours. God goes with us wherever we go. Let's say together, God, you bless us together now, each and every one. Look with me, dreamer of the dream. Suffering is an emphasis upon all the world has done to injure you. Here is the world's demented version of salvation clearly shown. Like to a dream of punishment in which the dreamer is unconscious of what brought on the attack against himself, he sees himself attacked unjustly and by something not himself. He is the victim of this something else, a thing outside himself for which he has no reason to be held responsible. He must be innocent because he knows not what he does, but what is done to him. Yet is his own attack upon himself still apparent, for it is he who bears all of the suffering. Look, and he cannot escape because its source is seen as outside of himself. Look with me. Now you are being shown that you can escape. I can escape. I can escape. All that is needed is you look upon the problem as it is and not the way that you have set it up. How could there be another way to solve a problem that is very simple but has been obscured by heavy clouds of complication which were made to keep the problem unresolved? Without the clouds, the problem will emerge in all its primitive simplicity. The choice will not be difficult because the problem, when you look at it, is absurd when you see it. No one has difficulty making up his mind to let a simple problem be resolved if he sees it as hurting him and also very easily removed. Here it is. The reasoning by which the world is made, on which it rests, by which it is maintained, is very simply this. You are the cause of what I do. Your present justifies my wrath, and you exist and think apart from me. And while you attack, I must be innocent, and what I suffer is your attack. And no one who looks upon this reasoning exactly as it is could fail to see it does not follow and that it makes absolutely no sense. Yet it seems sensible because it looks as if the world were actually hurting you. And so it seems as if there is no need to go beyond the obvious in terms of the causation itself. Very simply, because you're afraid to go beyond the obvious. I'll teach for just a moment. I'm glad you're with me. I got 22 and a half minutes to go. I have ideas of relationship of space-time where, if you'll let me, I'll increase the frequency of a very fundamental acknowledgement that you have manifested yourself within your body form. Makes absolutely no sense at all. No sense at all. Good. No sense at all. Have you been practicing? Are you starting to catch visions of wholeness and love that we're sharing together? 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 Have you become aware that in all of space-time you've been repeating over and over and over again that single moment when the idea of terror took the place of love, and again, and again. There's a new me. I'm afraid of that me over there. I have overcome momentarily the difficulty and received a better reflection of myself within my own body sequence. Yet I still seem to be occupied in the space-time identity of myself. Better? Good. I just had a moment of awakening from the dream of the sequence in the realization that I have been the cause of the dreaming idea. Heretofore, I had not recognized through the power training of the time traveling of my Savior Jesus Christ that I brought with me the appearance of this world when I came into this sequence of time. The appearance of the illuminate mind of the body factoring of the resurrection of body form was simply a moment when Jesus said to you, the sequence of time in which you find yourself is not true. It's not where you're from. Stop giving the projection of your mind that momentarily identity that you and I share within this sequence. What happened? The whole world is changing. The reason that the whole world will change is very simply because the whole world within the illusion of the idea of your dream cycle is changing all the time anyway. What you've actually decided to do in the increase of the frequency of light is very simply by releasing the defenses of the reflected light by which you previously maintained an idea within your own mind. Listen, that there was actually something out there. You discovered that when you momentarily did not defend yourself, you listen to me, nothing attacked you. And as unreasonable as that may be to you, since you are still hell-bent on defending the idea that you're that body form, if you'll at least look within your own mind at the possibility that the concept that you now hold of yourself, regardless of the frequency by which you continue to identify yourself within your own dream sequence, is always going to be over and gone in any event. Look with me. Perhaps we can increase the idea that you've been living in a body formulation where you occupy the body over a period of 1,000 years or 5,000 years or 20,000 years or 40 years, but always in a sequence that is identified within your mind as a beginning and an end within the illusion of the non-recognition that an increase in power, look with me, rather than destroying the image of yourself that was never going to be real in any event, it continues to offer you a broader exchange of energy in which, as you attain and foster new ideas in your mind, the new idea you're having about escaping entirely from the formulation of the illusion of your body form within the sequence of the dream has become real to you. A real dream of escape, of escaping, of escaping, of escaping. I want to see differently. There's another life I can see. I saw it. I lost it. I'm afraid. I saw it. I lost it. I'm afraid. Don't be afraid. The practice is to show you that the reflection of light that you're getting is only in your own mind. The power of the universe that you represent as a totality, partiality of you in space-time gives you two choices. One will be the totality of your containment in reflection of light, that at the speed of light demonstrates your capacity to remain objective. The other will be the eternal idea that before the sequence of time began and after it was over, in the entirety of the re-illumination of your mind form, you were back in heaven, as we used to state. And you remember for just that moment of questioning how you ever could have believed that you were trapped in this meaningless idea of suffering, pain, and death, and all of the ideas that you have maintained to make them real in your mind suddenly just disappear. Shall I tell you why? You've decided you don't want them anymore. Within your own dream sequence, you know there's another dream, but you've been afraid to exercise it for fear of the loss of the little power that you've been maintaining to keep yourself in that evidence. Will you listen with me? I'm going to read you just a little more in chapter 27 of the Miracle of Mind Conversion of our Course in Miracles, where you're going to recognize the fear that you had, that you now are beginning to laugh at the idea that this is what life is. Look with me. Whatever else your illusion is going to show you within your own dream sequence, this is not life. Life is eternal and eternally happy in all the ideas you have about yourself. This was simply an illusion that is now going to be over and gone within. And you can share together the idea that all of the terrible things going on here were only within your own mind. Listen. The body, your body, is the central figure in the dreaming of the world, isn't it? There is no dream without it, nor does it exist without the dream in which it acts as if it were a person to be seen and be believed. It takes the central place in every dream, which tells the story of how it was made by other bodies, born into the world outside the body, lives a little while and then dies, to be united in the dust with other bodies dying like itself. In the brief time allotted it to live, it seeks for other bodies as its friends and its enemies. Its safety is its main concern. Its comfort is its guiding rule. It tries to look for pleasure and avoid the things that would be hurtful. Above all, it tries to teach itself that its pains and joys are different and can be told apart, can be told apart, can be told apart. The dreaming of the world takes many forms because the body seeks in many ways to prove it is autonomous and real in the dream sequence. It puts things on itself that it is brought with little metal discs or paper strips that the world proclaims as valuable and real. It works to get them doing senseless things and tosses them away for senseless things it does not need and does not even want. It hires other bodies that they may protect it and collect more senseless things that can call its own. And it looks about for other special bodies that can share its dream. Look, sometimes it dreams that it is a conqueror of bodies, weaker than itself. But in some phases of the dream, it is the slave of bodies that would hurt and torture it. Look with me, the body's serial adventures from the time of birth to dying is the theme of every dream the world has ever had. The hero of this dream will never change, nor will its purpose. Though the dream itself takes many forms and seems to show a great variety of places and events wherein its hero finds itself, the dream has but one purpose, taught in many, many ways. You listen, this single lesson does it try to teach again and still again and yet once more that it is cause and not effect, and that you are the effect and cannot be its cause. Back for 1 minute because I saw you see it. I'm going to come back and I'm just going to finish this whole idea. Because when you begin to recognize yourself as a cause of this, the first thing you're going to do is laugh at the idea that someone out there can affect you. Perhaps you're not ready to hear this yet within the sequence of time. But in the evidence of the emergence of a new dream sequence, in the idea of the power of decision that you can make, somewhere in time, you will arrive at this idea. And in that single act of forgiveness, the enemy, the guy that was attacking you, the revenge that you're going to seek within your body form, is what? Instantly converted, very simply, because God is love. Very simply because God, the power of the universe, does not recognize all of the grievances that you're holding about your idea of body identity, contained within the reflections of light about yourself. Remember that the mistake of the idea that you could be trapped in space-time has now passed away. And the new dream that's emerging is the one that we share and intend to represent a moment coming back into time where we understand the entirety of the purpose in why we were here. The purpose of why I'm here. The purpose of this. Why I'm sharing the light with you. Our reason for being here. Our reason and purpose for not defending ourselves. Listen. Remember, you are its effect and cannot be its cause. Thus, are you not the dreamer, but the dream? And so you wander idly in and out of places and events that it contrives. That this is all the body does is true, for it is but a figure in a dream. But who reacts to figures in a dream unless he sees them as if they were real? The instant that he sees them as they are, They have no more effects on him because he understands he gave them their effects by causing them and making them seem real. Now you listen to me carefully. How willing are you to escape effects of all the dreams the world has ever had? Is it your wish to let no dream appear to be the cause of what it is that you do? Then let us merely look upon the dream's beginning, for the part you see is but the second part, whose cause lies in the first. Here we go. No one asleep and dreaming in the world remembers his own attack upon himself. No one believes there really was a time when he knew nothing of a body and could never have conceived this world as real. He would have seen at once that these ideas are one illusion too ridiculous for anything but to be laughed away. How serious they now appear to be. And no one can remember when they would have been met with laughter and with disbelief. Look with me. We can remember this if we but look directly at their cause, and we will see the grounds for laughing at the idea that this is what life is, and not as a cause for the fear that we're now feeling within the illusion of ourself. That was a direct comeback into the idea of the increase in frequencies of the dream idea. Are you with me with this? Let's practice just for a moment the idea that you're going to let me be a figure representing the idea within your own dream sequence. Call me the master teacher. Whatever you call me actually doesn't concern me, because somewhere within the factoring of your own dream sequence, you cannot not believe that I am somehow a body form separate from your body form, where in the simple truth of the matter, first of all, I am responsible for everything that I'm seeing out there in the world, and that includes my ideas that I have about you as attacking me or loving me or forgiving me, or all of the other ideas I have about myself. In my prospect of awakening, through trusting within my own idea of the sequentiality of time, that I am perfectly aware that somewhere within the sequencing of my dream of space-time, there is a moment before I entered into this frequency and after I left. I bet it's a moment of fear, isn't it? It's what you have been protecting yourself from in the idea that the reflection of light that you thought was going to attack you in this nightmare of dream sequence actually has no reality whatsoever. Will you look with me there? How's better? Are you in a practice of the conversion of the mind? Are new ideas opening up to you where the idea that you held about yourself allowed you to look out into the universe and see the billions of stars and galaxies and power 1,000,000,000,000 times greater than this, only to find yourself trapped in this little sequence of dreaming that you thought could affect you in any regard? And suddenly I'm here. Suddenly as the teacher of God, suddenly as a reflection of the request that you made of me, this is from our Savior Jesus, that I represent to you a moment of returning to offer you the entirety of the solution of your own dream sequence at this space and time, at this space and time, here and now, here and now, here and now. Listen. Let's return the dream he gave away unto the dreamer who perceived the dream as separate from himself and done to him, into eternity, where all is one, there crept a tiny, mad, crazy idea at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. In his forgetting did the thought become a serious idea and possible of both accomplishment and real effects. Listen with me. Together we can laugh them both away and understand that time cannot intrude upon eternity. You listening? It's a joke to think that time can come to circumvent eternity, which means that there is no time. Did you see that with me? A timelessness in which is time made real, a part of God that can attack itself. A separate brother is an enemy, a mind within a body, all our forms of circulatory beginnings and endings where it starts and it ends as its cause. The world you see depicts exactly what you thought you did, except that now you think that what you did is being done to you. The guilt for what you thought is being placed outside yourself and on a guilty world that dreams your dream and thinks your thoughts instead of you thinking your own. The world but demonstrates an ancient truth. You will believe that others do to you exactly what you think you did to them. But once deluded into blaming them, you will not see the cause of what they do because you want the guilt to rest on them. Because you want the guilt of the idea of the dream sequence in which you find yourself to rest on someone else, rather than simply saying within the sequence of the dream, wait just a minute. I'm with you here now in this dream sequence. Wait just a moment. There's an intrusion has come into my dream. I don't want him in here. I'm afraid of him. Did you see that? I'm afraid to let him come into my dream. He's a stranger in my dream sequence. I don't know who he is. I'd better quickly establish an idea about who I think he is, because if I open up to the possibility that he is going to be other than what I intend to represent him as, I may open up a whole new vista of light correspondent in which I will escape the bondage of the circumstance by which my formulation has been manifest, because I am about now to awaken from this dream sequence. Welcome home. Welcome to your escape from the crucifixion that previously represented your dream sequence into the simple idea that this world that you brought with you into this sequence is about to disappear entirely. Thank you for showing me the solution. Thank you for representing in your mind my certainty that we share this single mind of reality and love, so that we were able to see together in this new dream sequence our certainty that time itself lasted but that moment with no effect on eternity, so that I may declare to you, God, you bless us, each and every one, in this new vision of light that we're seeing together. And I'll be seeing you very soon as we cross out of this little limitation of frame of light and enter into the reality of the universe that awaits us. I'll be with you.